Two German shepherds was found in an abandoned carousel horse. What baby did next left everyone in tears. The security guard's flashlight trembled as he backed away from the carousel horse. What he saw inside would haunt him forever. But what a 5-year-old boy did next changed everything. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Jake Morrison had been doing security rounds at the old Riverside Fairground for 3 years, but tonight was different. The place had been abandoned for 15 years, ever since the accident that nobody talked about anymore. Usually his midnight patrol was boring, checking locks, scaring away teenagers looking for a thrill. But the sound coming from the old carousel made his blood run cold. It wasn't the usual creaking of old wood or the wind rattling through broken windows. It was whimpering. Desperate, hollow whimpering that seemed to echo from inside something. "Hello?" Jake called out, his voice cracking. The fairground stretched out before him like a graveyard of childhood dreams. Rusted swing sets, collapsed game booths, and in the center, the carousel that once played cheerful music now stood silent and broken. The painted horses, once bright and magical, were now peeling and grotesque in the moonlight. The whimpering came again. Louder this time. Jake's hands shook as he dialed Sarah Mitchell's number. She was the only person in town who still cared about this place, the only one who came here to salvage antiques from the ruins. More importantly, she was the only person he trusted with something this strange. "Sarah?" His voice was barely a whisper. "You need to come to the fairground now." "Jake, it's past midnight. There's something inside the carousel, something alive." The line went quiet for a moment. Then Sarah's voice, steady but concerned. "I'll be there in 10 minutes. Sarah Mitchell pulled into the fairground's cracked parking lot with her 5-year-old son, Tommy, sleeping in the back seat. She hadn't wanted to bring him, but her neighbor couldn't watch him this late. Tommy hadn't spoken a full sentence in 6 months, not since his father's funeral. The doctors called it selective mutism, a response to trauma. Sarah called it a broken heart. "Stay in the car, baby," she whispered, but Tommy's eyes were already open, staring at the carousel with an intensity that made her stomach tighten. "They're crying," Tommy said clearly, his first complete sentence in half a year. Sarah froze. "Who's crying, sweetheart?" "The dogs. They're scared, like me inside." Before Sarah could process what was happening, Tommy had unbuckled himself and was walking toward the carousel. Not running, not excited, walking with purpose, like he was being pulled by an invisible thread. "Tommy, wait!" Sarah ran after him, Jake following with his flashlight. The carousel sat in the middle of the fairground like a wounded animal. Half its horses were missing, stolen, or rotted away. The platform tilted at an angle where the foundation had shifted. But one horse, a large white one with a golden saddle, seemed different. Its paint was fresher, like someone had tried to restore it recently. The whimpering was coming from inside it. Jake shined his light through a crack in the horse's neck. "There's something in there." "Oh God, Sarah, there are eyes looking back at me." Tommy walked straight to the horse and placed his small hand on its side. "It's okay," he whispered. "We're here now." The whimpering stopped. Sarah and Jake worked together to pry open a hidden panel in the horse's belly, a panel that shouldn't have existed in a normal carousel horse. What they found inside made Sarah's heart shatter and race at the same time. 2 German shepherds pressed together in the cramped space. The larger one, a female with gray around her muzzle, was shielding a younger male whose ribs showed through patchy fur. Both were covered in mud and what looked like dried blood. They wore matching collars, not regular collars, but thick military-grade ones with metal tags that caught the light strangely. The female dog's eyes met Sarah's, and in them was something she'd never seen in an animal before. Desperate intelligence, like she was trying to communicate something vital. "We need to get them out," Sarah said, but when Jake reached forward, the younger dog growled weakly. "Wait," Tommy said, and again his voice was clear as crystal. He hummed something, a melody Sarah had never heard before, low and rhythmic. Both dogs' ears perked up. The female's tail gave a single, weak wag. "How did you know to do that?" Sarah asked, but Tommy was already reaching into the horse, his small arms wrapping around the younger dog's neck. The animal that had just growled at Jake now pressed against Tommy like they were old friends. Storm says his name is Storm, Tommy announced, and she's Luna. She has babies inside her. Jake and Sarah exchanged shocked looks. How could Tommy know that? They lifted the dogs out carefully. Luna could barely stand, her legs shaking with exhaustion and malnutrition. Storm tried to be protective despite his own weakness, positioning himself between the adults and Luna. But with Tommy, they were different. They followed him to Sarah's car without hesitation, Luna even licking his hand when he helped her into the back seat. "Sarah," Jake said quietly, pulling her aside, "look at those collars. Those are military encryption tags. These aren't just stray dogs." Sarah studied the tags under Jake's flashlight. Serial numbers, symbols she didn't recognize, and something else. Tiny scratches that looked deliberate, like someone had tried to leave a message. "We need to get them to a vet," she said. "They're in bad shape." "It's 1 a.m. Dr. Chen will open for an emergency. She always does." As they prepared to leave, Tommy said something that made Sarah's blood run cold. "Luna says the bad men are looking for them. That's why they hid." "Tommy, dogs can't..." "She says they killed the soldier man, the one who loved them." Sarah's hands gripped the steering wheel as she drove through the empty streets. In the rearview mirror, she could see Tommy sitting between the 2 German shepherds, his hands gently stroking their heads. Luna's breathing was labored, and Storm kept nuzzling her, whining softly. Dr. Lisa Chen met them at her clinic door, her face shifting from annoyance to concern when she saw the dog's condition. "Get them inside!" Quickly. The examination room smelled of antiseptic and fear. Luna collapsed on the examination table, her body trembling. Dr. Chen's hands moved expertly, checking vitals, feeling for injuries. "She's severely dehydrated and malnourished, doctor," Chen said, hooking up an IV. "And you were right, Tommy. She's pregnant, late stage. I'm surprised she's held on this long." Storm wouldn't leave Luna's side, growling when doctor. Chen tried to examine him separately. Only when Tommy whispered something in his ear did he relax enough for the vet to check him over. "This younger one has old scars, doctor," Chen said, her voice troubled. "Knife wounds, healed but recent. Maybe 2 weeks old. And these patterns on his back. These are from professional training, military or police work." "Jake was right about the collars then," Sarah said. Dr. Chen scanned for microchips, her scanner beeping over both dogs' shoulders. Her frown deepened as she checked her computer. "This is strange. The chips are there, but they're encrypted. Military-grade encryption. I can't access the records without..." She stopped, her face paling. "Wait. I've seen this before. These codes are for K-9 units from Fort Harrison. The military base 2 hours away? Yes. But Sarah, these particular codes, they're from a unit that was disbanded 6 months ago after some kind of incident. Something classified." Tommy, who had been silent, suddenly spoke up. "Luna says it wasn't an incident. It was murder. The room went cold." "Tommy," Sarah said gently, "how do you know what Luna is saying?" Tommy looked at her with those serious 5-year-old eyes. "I just do. Like how I knew Daddy was gone before you told me. I can feel what they feel. And they're really, really scared." Dr. Chen worked through the night to stabilize Luna. The pregnancy was taking everything out of the already weakened dog. Storm refused to rest, standing guard despite his own exhaustion. And Tommy wouldn't leave their side, curled up in a chair between the 2 dogs, humming that strange melody whenever they got agitated. "Sarah," Dr. Chen said around 3 a.m., "Luna's going into distress. The puppies, she might lose them if we can't stabilize her." Luna's breathing became erratic. Her eyes rolled back. Storm howled, a sound so mournful it seemed to shake the walls. "No!" Tommy jumped up, placing both hands on Luna's swollen belly. "You have to fight! Your babies need you! Storm needs you!" He started humming again, but this time it was different. The melody was more complex, almost like a lullaby, but with strange pauses and rhythms that didn't match any song Sarah knew. Luna's breathing began to steady, her eyes focused on Tommy. "That's impossible, doctor," Chen whispered. "Her heart rate is normalizing." "What is that song?" "It's not a song," Tommy said without looking up. "It's how they talk when they're scared." The soldier man taught them. Luna taught me. Sarah felt tears streaming down her face. Her son, who had barely spoken in months, was now having full conversations with dogs. And somehow, impossibly, it was working. By dawn, Luna was stable. Dr. Chen had managed to give her fluids and nutrients. Storm finally allowed himself to lie down, but only after positioning himself where he could see both Luna and the door. "They can stay here for observation, Doctor," Chen said, exhausted. "But Sarah, there's something else? When I was cleaning Storm's wounds, I found this." She held up a small plastic cylinder, no bigger than a pill. It was sewn into his collar, crudely, like someone did it in a hurry. Sarah took it, noticing it was actually a tiny USB drive. What would someone hide in a dog's collar? "Luna has one too," Tommy said matter-of-factly. "But hers has the important stuff." "Storm's is just the backup." Dr. Chen and Sarah stared at him. "How could you possibly know that?" Sarah asked. Tommy shrugged. "Luna told me. She says the soldier man put them there before the bad men came. She says we need to be careful because they're still looking." Sarah's mind raced. Military dogs with encrypted chips, hidden USB drives, mentions of murder, and bad men hunting them. What had they stumbled into? "We should call the police, Doctor," Chen suggested. "No!" Tommy said sharply, startling them. "Luna says no police. Some of them are with the bad men. That's why the soldier man had to hide the truth in the dogs." "The truth about what?" Sarah asked. Tommy looked at her with eyes too old for his 5 years. "The truth about why Daddy died." Sarah's world tilted. "What?" "Tommy, Daddy died in a car accident. At the fairground," Tommy said quietly, "where we found Luna and Storm. It wasn't an accident, Mommy. Luna says the soldier man knew Daddy. They were trying to stop something bad." Sarah's legs gave out. She sank into a chair, her mind reeling. David had died 6 months ago, supposedly losing control of his car near the fairground and crashing into a tree. But he'd been acting strange before he died. Paranoid, secretive, making late-night phone calls. "We need to get them somewhere safe," Sarah said, her voice hollow. "If someone's really hunting them, they can come home with us," Tommy said firmly. "I won't leave them." Dr. Chen looked between them. "Sarah, this is bigger than lost dogs. If Tommy's right—" "I know," Sarah said, "but look at them. Look at my son. He's talking, Doctor." "Chen, really talking? And these dogs, they're in danger. We can't just abandon them." "Then at least be careful, Doctor," Chen said. "I'll keep this quiet, but if military personnel come asking—" "You haven't seen anything," Sarah finished. As they prepared to leave, "Doctor," Chen pulled Sarah aside. "There's one more thing. When I was examining Luna, I noticed something. Her training. It's not just military. These dogs are from the Special Operations K-9 program. They're trained for classified missions, intelligence gathering. If someone hid information with them, it's because they trusted no one else." Sarah looked back at Tommy, who was carefully helping Storm walk to the car while whispering encouragements. What kind of information would be worth killing for? "The kind that could bring down very powerful people, Doctor," Chen said quietly. They drove home as the sun painted the sky pink and gold. The dogs were in the back seat with Tommy, Luna's head resting on his lap, while Storm kept watch out the window. Every few minutes, Storm would whine and Tommy would pet him, whispering, "I know. We're almost safe." Sarah's small apartment had never felt more cramped or more like a sanctuary. She made a bed of blankets and towels in the living room for the dogs. Luna immediately curled up, exhausted, while Storm investigated every corner, every window, every door. "He's checking for danger," Tommy explained. "That's his job. Luna's job is different." "What's Luna's job?" "To remember things, to keep secrets safe." Sarah pulled out the USB drives from her pocket. Such small things to cause so much trouble. "Should we see what's on them?" "Not yet," Tommy said. "Luna says we need to wait for the right person. Someone's coming to help." "Who?" "The soldier man's brother. He's been looking for them too, but he's good. He wants to help." Sarah wanted to dismiss it as childhood imagination, but everything Tommy had said so far had been eerily accurate. "When will he come?" "Soon." Luna can feel him getting closer. That night, Sarah barely slept. Every sound made her jump. Every car passing by sent her to the window. Storm seemed to sense her anxiety, positioning himself by the front door like a sentinel. Luna slept fitfully, occasionally whimpering in her dreams. Only Tommy seemed peaceful, curled up between the two dogs like he'd known them his whole life. Around 2 a.m., Storm suddenly stood, a low growl building in his throat. Luna's eyes snapped open. Even Tommy sat up, instantly alert. "Someone's outside," he whispered. Sarah's heart pounded. She grabbed her phone, ready to call 911, but Tommy shook his head. "Wait," Storm says. "Wait." A knock came at the door. Not loud or aggressive. 3 soft taps, then 2, then 3 again. "That's military code," Tommy said, though how he knew that, Sarah couldn't fathom. "Luna says it's safe." Against every instinct, Sarah went to the door. "Who is it?" "Ma'am, my name is Captain James Rivera. I believe you have my brother's dogs." Sarah's hand hesitated on the lock. "How do I know you're really who you say you are?" There was a pause. Then, softly, the man on the other side began humming, the same melody Tommy had hummed to calm the dogs. Luna struggled to her feet, tail wagging weakly. Storm's growl turned to a whine of recognition. Sarah opened the door to find a man in his 40s, wearing civilian clothes but carrying himself with military bearing. His eyes, brown and kind but haunted, went immediately to the dogs. "Luna." "Storm." His voice broke. The dogs rushed to him as fast as their weakened bodies could manage, Storm jumping up to lick his face while Luna pressed against his legs. "You knew them," Sarah said. "They were my brother Miguel's partners. I've been searching for them for 2 weeks, ever since—" He stopped, his jaw clenching. "Since Miguel was killed." "Murdered," Tommy said quietly. "Luna says he was murdered because he found out about the bad things." Captain Rivera's eyes snapped to Tommy, then back to Sarah. "Your son, he can understand them?" "It seems so," Sarah said, still not quite believing it herself. Rivera knelt down to Tommy's level. "That's a very special gift, young man." Miguel could do something similar. He always said Luna and Storm weren't just dogs. They were soldiers, partners, family. "They have something for you," Tommy said, pointing to the USB drive Sarah had placed on the coffee table. The soldier man, Miguel, he hid the truth in their collars. Rivera's face went pale. "He found it. He actually found the evidence." "Evidence of what?" Sarah asked. Rivera stood slowly, his expression grim. "Evidence that several high-ranking officers at Fort Harrison have been selling weapons to cartels. My brother discovered the operation 6 months ago. He tried to report it through proper channels, but the corruption went too high. They killed him and made it look like a training accident. 6 months ago," Sarah whispered, "that's when my husband died." Rivera turned to her sharply. "Your husband? Who was your husband?" "David Mitchell. He died in a car accident near the fairground." Rivera's face went white. "David Mitchell was your husband?" "Ma'am, David was my brother's informant. He was helping Miguel gather evidence. His death wasn't an accident," Sarah finished, sinking onto the couch. "Oh God, they killed him too." Tommy climbed into his mother's lap. "That's why Luna and Storm came to us. Daddy told them to find us if something bad happened." "But how did they end up in the Carousel?" Sarah asked. "That was David's backup plan," Rivera said quietly. "He told Miguel about the Carousel horse, said he'd modified it years ago as a hiding spot when he worked at the fairground. If things went bad, it was supposed to be a safe place. The dogs must have hidden there after Miguel was killed, but they got trapped inside." Luna whimpered, moving back to Tommy and laying her head on his knee. Storm remained by Rivera's side, but his eyes tracked every movement in the room. "We need to get this evidence to someone trustworthy," Rivera said, picking up the USB drives. "But most of the people I'd normally trust might be compromised." "The bad men are already looking," Tommy said suddenly. "Luna can smell them. They've been watching." Rivera immediately went to the window, carefully peering through the blinds, his body tensed. "Black sedan across the street. It wasn't there when I arrived." Sarah's blood turned to ice. "They found us?" "Maybe. Or they're watching to see what we do next." Rivera moved away from the window. "We need to move. Now." "The dogs can barely walk," Sarah protested. "Luna's pregnant and—" A sound cut her off, breaking glass from the back bedroom. Storm exploded into action, racing toward the sound with a ferocity that belied his weakened state. Rivera followed, pulling a concealed weapon from his jacket. "Get Tommy and Luna to the car," he ordered Sarah. "Go!" Sarah grabbed Tommy's hand and helped Luna to her feet. The pregnant dog struggled but pushed forward, understanding the urgency. They could hear Storm snarling, the sound of a struggle, Rivera shouting commands. They were halfway to the door when it burst open. A man in dark clothing stood there, his face hidden by a ski mask. Sarah pulled Tommy behind her, but Luna moved faster than should have been possible. Despite her condition, she lunged at the intruder, her teeth finding his arm. The man screamed, trying to shake her off. Tommy suddenly darted forward, grabbing a lamp and swinging it at the man's knees with surprising force. The intruder stumbled, and Luna pulled him down. Rivera appeared, Storm at his side, both breathing hard. "Move! There are more coming." They ran into the night, Sarah carrying Tommy, while Rivera half-carried Luna. Storm ran ahead, then back, keeping watch. They could hear shouts behind them, footsteps pounding on pavement. Rivera's truck was parked around the corner. They piled in, Sarah and Tommy in the back with the dogs, Rivera driving. As they pulled away, 2 more dark sedans screeched around the corner. "Hold on," Rivera said grimly, flooring the accelerator. The truck lurched forward, tires squealing. Luna whimpered in the back seat, her body trembling. Tommy held her head in his lap, humming that strange melody again. "She's in labor," Tommy said, his voice eerily calm. The stress started it. Now? Sarah couldn't believe their luck. "She's having the puppies now?" "We need somewhere safe," Rivera said, taking a hard right that made everyone slide. "Somewhere they won't think to look." "The fairground," Tommy said suddenly. "Go to the fairground. There's a place Daddy made. Luna knows where." Rivera met Sarah's eyes in the rearview mirror. She nodded. "Do it!" They drove in tense silence, taking back roads and doubling back twice to lose their pursuers. Luna's breathing grew more labored. Storm pressed against her, whining softly. The fairground looked even more desolate in the deep night. Rivera parked behind the collapsed funhouse, hiding the truck from the main road. "Where now?" he asked Tommy. Tommy closed his eyes, his hand on Luna's head. "The maintenance building, under the carousel. Daddy built a secret room. They moved as quickly as they could, Luna stopping every few feet as contractions hit. The maintenance building was a squat concrete structure, its door hanging off its hinges. Inside, Tommy led them to what looked like a solid wall. "Here," he said, pressing on specific spots in a pattern. A section of the wall swung inward, revealing a hidden room. Sarah gasped. The room was set up like a safe house. Water bottles, canned food, first aid supplies, blankets, and on one wall, a corkboard covered in photos, documents, and red string connecting various points. "David was investigating this for months," Rivera breathed, studying the board. "This is incredible. He documented everything." Luna collapsed on the blankets, her body shuddering. The first puppy was coming. "I need light," Sarah said, her hands trembling. "And water. Clean towels." Rivera found a battery-powered lantern, while Tommy grabbed water bottles. Storm stood guard at the door, his ears swiveling at every sound. The first puppy came quickly, tiny, dark, not moving. "No," Tommy whispered, taking the small form in his hands. "No, you have to live. Your mama fought so hard for you." He began rubbing the puppy gently, whispering words Sarah couldn't understand. The puppy remained still. Luna whined, reaching for her baby. Tommy placed it near her, tears streaming down his face. "I'm sorry, Luna. I'm sorry." But Luna began licking the puppy vigorously, her tongue working with desperate determination. And then, a tiny squeak. The puppy moved. "It's alive!" Sarah cried. "Tommy, it's alive!" 2 more puppies followed, both healthy despite their premature birth. Luna, exhausted beyond measure, gathered them close, her tail giving weak thumps of joy. "She did it," Tommy said, stroking her head. "You did it, Luna. You saved them." Rivera had been studying David's board while keeping watch. "Sarah, your husband was brilliant. He tracked the entire operation. Names, dates, shipment routes. Combined with what Miguel gathered, this is enough to bring down everyone involved." "Including Colonel Marcus Black," Sarah read from one of the documents. He's the ringleader? One of them. He's stationed at Fort Harrison. If he knows the dogs are here... Storm suddenly growled, his hackles rising. In the distance, they could hear engines approaching. "They found us," Rivera said grimly. "We're trapped." "No," Tommy said, standing up with surprising determination. "Luna says there's another way. Daddy showed the dogs everything. Storm knows the tunnels." "Tunnels?" "The old maintenance tunnels under the fairground. They connect to the storm drains. We can get out that way." Rivera looked skeptical, but Storm was already pawing at another section of floor. Rivera pulled away a disguised cover, revealing a ladder leading down into darkness. "Luna can't climb down," Sarah said. "Not with the puppies." "I'll carry her," Rivera said. "Sarah, you take the puppies. Tommy, can Storm lead us?" Tommy nodded, already climbing down after Storm. He knows the way. Daddy made him memorize it. They descended into the tunnels, Rivera somehow managing to carry Luna, while Sarah held the 3 tiny puppies against her chest. The tunnels were damp and narrow, lit only by Rivera's flashlight. Storm moved confidently ahead, stopping at each junction to make sure they followed. Above them, they could hear vehicles arriving, doors slamming, voices shouting orders. "Search every building! They're here somewhere." They moved faster, Tommy translating Storm's signals. Left here, right there, straight through the water. Luna whimpered with each jostle, but stayed quiet, understanding the danger. After what felt like hours but was probably 20 minutes, they emerged from a drainage outlet near the river, a mile from the fairground. Rivera's truck was gone, of course, but he had a backup plan. "There's a boat," he said. Miguel kept one hidden for emergencies. They found it under camouflage netting, a small motorboat, just big enough for all of them. As Rivera started the engine, they heard helicopters in the distance, searchlights sweeping the fairground. "Where do we go?" Sarah asked, holding Tommy and the puppies close. "I know someone," Rivera said. "Someone even Colonel Black can't touch. A federal judge who Miguel trusted. She'll help us." As they moved down the river, Luna's head in Tommy's lap, Storm keeping watch at the bow, Sarah realized their lives had changed forever. They were fugitives now, running from people who had killed to keep their secrets. But looking at Tommy, speaking freely for the first time in months, and the dogs who had brought them together, she also felt something else: purpose. David had died trying to expose these criminals. Now it was their turn to finish what he started. "Luna says thank you," Tommy said quietly, "for saving her babies, for believing." Sarah kissed the top of his head. "Tell her she saved us too." The boat disappeared into the pre-dawn darkness, carrying its precious cargo toward an uncertain but necessary future. Behind them, the fairground blazed with searchlights, but they were already gone, protected by the loyalty of 2 German shepherds and the pure heart of a 5-year-old boy who could hear what others couldn't. The evidence was safe. The puppies were alive. And somewhere, Sarah believed, David was watching over them, proud that his plan, however strange, had worked. But Colonel Black wouldn't give up easily. The real fight was just beginning. The federal judge's house sat on a hill overlooking the city, surrounded by security cameras and a tall fence. Judge Patricia Lawson opened the door herself at 5 a.m., her face grim but unsurprised. "James Rivera," she said, ushering them inside quickly. "Miguel told me you might come one day. I prayed you wouldn't need to." They were a strange group, Sarah carrying 3 newborn puppies, Tommy supporting Luna, who could barely walk, Storm circling them protectively despite his own exhaustion, and Rivera carrying a backpack with the USB drives and David's documents. "These must be the dogs Miguel spoke about," Judge Lawson said, her expression softening as she saw Luna's condition. "Dear God, she just gave birth?" 3 hours ago, Sarah said, "in a hidden room under the fairground while men with guns hunted us." The judge's face hardened. "Colonel Black?" "Among others," Rivera confirmed. "Patricia, we have the evidence Miguel died for. Everything's here, the weapon sales, the murders, the cover-ups. David Mitchell documented it all before they killed him too." Judge Lawson looked at Sarah with deep sympathy. "You're David's widow." "I'm so sorry. He was a brave man." "I didn't even know," Sarah said, tears threatening. "He never told me what he was doing." "To protect you," the judge said gently. "Come, Let's get you settled. You're safe here for now." She led them to a large guest room where Luna immediately curled up with her puppies. Storm stationed himself by the window, still on guard. Tommy sat between them, his hand on Luna's head, whispering reassurances. "Your son," Judge Lawson said quietly to Sarah. "Miguel mentioned a child with a gift. Is this him?" "Tommy can understand them," Sarah said, still amazed herself. "He knows things the dogs know. It's hard to explain." "Miguel had the same ability to a lesser degree," the judge said. "He called it a connection of souls. The military never understood it, but it made him invaluable in the K-9 unit." Rivera pulled out the USB drives. "We need to review this evidence and get it to the right people. But, Patricia, we don't know who we can trust. The corruption goes deep." "I have contacts in the FBI," Judge Lawson said. "Agents I trust completely, but first, we need to know exactly what we're dealing with." They gathered around the judge's computer, leaving Tommy with the dogs. As the first USB loaded, Sarah gasped. The screen filled with documents, videos, recorded conversations. A massive web of corruption. "This is bigger than weapons trafficking," Rivera said, scrolling through files. "They're selling military intelligence, classified defensive positions, even soldier deployment schedules." "Treason," Judge Lawson said flatly. "This is treason." A video file caught Sarah's attention. That date, that's the day David died. Rivera clicked on it. The screen showed a meeting between Colonel Black and several other officers. The audio was clear. Luna must have been hidden nearby, recording everything through the special equipment in her collar. "Mitchell is getting too close," Colonel Black's voice said. "He has to be eliminated." "Make it look accidental," another voice added. "Just like we'll do with Sergeant Rivera if he doesn't stop digging." Sarah covered her mouth, fighting nausea. They had discussed murdering her husband like ordering coffee. "There's more," Rivera said grimly, opening another file. This one showed financial records, millions of dollars flowing through offshore accounts. Tommy suddenly appeared in the doorway, his face pale. "Storm says someone's coming, a lot of someone's." Judge Lawson went to her security monitor. 3 black SUVs were approaching the gate. "How did they find us so quickly?" "They must have tracked the boat," Rivera said, "or they have someone inside the federal system." "Mom," Tommy said urgently, "Luna says we need to go to the Carousel. Now. There's something else there. Something the soldier man left that only she knows about." "We can't go back there," Sarah said. "It's too dangerous." Storm barked sharply, then ran to Luna. The mother dog struggled to her feet, leaving her puppies for the first time since their birth. She limped to Tommy and pressed against him, whining. "She says it's the only way," Tommy translated, "the final piece that will stop them forever. But we have to go now, before the bad colonel gets there first." Judge Lawson made a quick decision. "There's a service tunnel from my basement to the garage next door. My neighbor's gone for the month. You can take his car." "You're not coming?" Rivera asked. "I'll delay them here. Buy you time. Besides, someone needs to watch the puppies. Luna can't take them where you're going." Luna whined, torn between her babies and her duty. Tommy knelt beside her. "They'll be safe. The judge will protect them. You have to finish what Miguel started." The dog looked into the boy's eyes for a long moment, then licked his face. She turned to her puppies, nuzzling each one before limping toward the door, Storm at her side. They escaped through the tunnel just as the SUVs reached the judge's gate. The neighbor's sedan was old but functional. Rivera drove while Sarah held Tommy in the back. Luna and Storm pressed against them. "This is insane," Sarah said. "We're driving back into danger." "Luna knows something we don't," Rivera said. "Miguel trusted these dogs with his life. We have to trust them now." The fairground looked different in the morning light, less menacing but more sad, like seeing a loved one's corpse in daylight. They parked behind the old ticket booth, out of sight from the main road. Storm led them not to the Carousel, but to a section of the fairground Sarah had never explored, the old animal exhibit area where they used to have pony rides and a petting zoo. "Here," Tommy said, pointing to a collapsed barn. "Under the hay." They pulled away rotted hay bales and debris, revealing a trapdoor. Below was another hidden room, this one filled with electronic equipment. Computers, recording devices, transmitters. "Miguel's backup command center," Rivera breathed. "He built this?" "With Daddy," Tommy said, his hand on Luna's head. They worked together. Luna limped to a specific computer, pawing at it insistently. Rivera powered it on, and immediately windows began opening. Live feeds from hidden cameras all around Fort Harrison. They've been recording everything, Sarah realized, for months. Look at this, Rivera said, clicking on a folder labeled Insurance. Inside was a video file dated the day before Miguel's death. Miguel's face appeared on screen, tired but determined. Behind him sat Luna and Storm. If you're watching this, I'm probably dead, Miguel's recorded voice said. And if Luna led you here, then you're someone I trust. What you're about to see is my final report. The video continued with Miguel laying out the entire conspiracy, showing documents, playing recorded conversations. But the most damning part came at the end. Colonel Black thinks he's covered his tracks, but he made one mistake. He kept trophies, videos of the murders, including David Mitchell's. They're on his personal laptop, which he keeps in his office safe. The combination is his daughter's birthday backwards. 03-15-82 becomes 28-51-30. Luna memorized it during a meeting when he opened it carelessly. Sarah gripped Tommy's hand. Proof that David was murdered. Actual proof. But here's what Black doesn't know, Miguel continued. I've been transmitting everything to a secure cloud server. Every conversation his office cameras caught, every document photographed, every crime recorded. The access codes are in Luna's secondary collar tag, the one that looks like a rabies vaccination record. If something happens to me, get that information to someone you trust. Don't let our deaths be for nothing. The video ended. Luna immediately presented her collar to Rivera, who found the hidden tag. Sure enough, behind the fake vaccination record was a series of numbers and letters. This is it, Rivera said. This is everything we need. Storm suddenly growled, his body going rigid. Through the barn's broken walls, they could see vehicles approaching, military vehicles. They found us, Sarah said, her heart pounding. No, Tommy said, his voice strange. Let them come. Tommy, what? Luna says it's time. She's been broadcasting. Broadcasting? Rivera checked the computer. His eyes widened. The system's been live streaming. For the past 10 minutes, everything we've discovered has been broadcasting to everywhere. News stations, social media, government oversight committees. Sarah stared at the screen. View counts were climbing rapidly. Thousands, tens of thousands. Comments were pouring in. The evidence was going viral. Luna activated it when we turned on the computer, Tommy said proudly. Miguel taught her. If the bad men came, show everyone the truth. Outside, vehicles screeched to a halt. Soldiers poured out, weapons drawn. But something was wrong. They were arguing among themselves, some pointing at their phones. Colonel Black himself stepped out of the lead vehicle, his face purple with rage. He started barking orders, but half his men weren't listening. They were watching their phones, seeing the evidence of their commander's treason spreading across the internet. Stand down, soldiers! A new voice rang out. Another convoy arrived, FBI vehicles, military police, and news vans. Colonel Marcus Black, you're under arrest for treason, murder, and conspiracy. Black pulled his sidearm, pointing it wildly. You don't understand. I was protecting America. These weapons deals funded black ops that kept us safe. By murdering innocent soldiers and civilians, the FBI agent stepped forward. By betraying everything you swore to protect, Storm burst from the barn, moving faster than Sarah had ever seen him run. He launched himself at Black, just as the colonel turned his weapon toward the barn where Tommy stood. The dog's weight knocked Black to the ground, the gun flying from his hand. Luna limped out behind Storm, standing protectively in front of Tommy. Her eyes met Black's, and in them was something Sarah could only describe as justice. The dog who had recorded his crimes, who had preserved the evidence despite everything, was watching his downfall. It's over, Colonel, Rivera said, emerging with Sarah and Tommy. Miguel and David won. You lost. Black was dragged away in handcuffs, screaming about national security and necessary evils. Other arrests followed, dozens of officers and civilians involved in the conspiracy. The fairground became a crime scene, investigators swarming everywhere. An FBI agent approached Sarah. Mrs. Mitchell, we'll need your full statement, but I want you to know your husband was a hero. His work saved countless lives. Sarah nodded, unable to speak through her tears. Tommy hugged her tight. "Daddy would be proud of us," he said. "Luna says so." Hours passed in a blur of statements, evidence collection, and media attention. The story was everywhere. Corrupt military officials brought down by 2 German shepherds and a 5-year-old boy. But through it all, Sarah noticed Luna growing weaker. The exhaustion of giving birth, the stress of the chase, the completion of her mission, it was all catching up to her. "We need to get her back to her puppies," Sarah told Rivera. "She needs rest." They returned to Judge Lawson's house to find the judge being interviewed on her front lawn, the puppies safe inside with a veterinary nurse the judge had called. Luna rushed to her babies as fast as her tired body could manage, curling around them with visible relief. She thought she'd never see them again, Tommy said softly. But she knew finishing the mission was more important. Dr. Chen arrived to check on Luna and Storm, shaking her head in amazement. After everything they've been through, they should be hospitalized, but their vitals are stabilizing. It's like completing their mission gave them new strength. That evening, as the sun set over the city, Sarah sat with Tommy in Judge Lawson's garden. Luna and her puppies rested nearby, Storm maintaining his eternal watch. Rivera was inside, coordinating with federal investigators. The danger was over, but Sarah felt empty. David was still gone. Nothing could bring him back. "Mom," Tommy said, "are you sad?" "Yes, baby. I miss Daddy." "Me too, but Luna says he's still here, in the work he did, in us, in the truth that's now free." Sarah pulled him close. "When did you get so wise?" "When Luna and Storm taught me to listen," Tommy said simply. "Not just with my ears, but with my heart." A week passed. The scandal dominated national news. Colonel Black and 47 others were indicted. The weapons trafficking ring was dismantled. Miguel Rivera and David Mitchell were posthumously honored for their service and sacrifice. Sarah stood in Arlington National Cemetery, watching as Miguel received a hero's burial. Luna and Storm sat at attention beside the grave, their heads high. The puppies, now 2 weeks old and beginning to open their eyes, were with Judge Lawson. "He would have been proud," Rivera said, standing beside her. "Both of them would have been proud of what we accomplished." "What happens now?" Sarah asked. "To the dogs, I mean." "That's up to them," Rivera said. "And to Tommy." Tommy was kneeling beside Luna, their heads close together in that way that meant they were communicating. After a moment, he stood and walked to Sarah. "Luna wants to stay with us," he said. "Her and Storm and the puppies. She says their mission was to find us, protect us, and help us heal. That mission isn't over." Sarah looked at the 2 German shepherds who had changed their lives so completely. "We don't have a big enough apartment." "Actually," Judge Lawson said, approaching them, "I've been thinking about that. The fairground, the city wants to rebuild it as a memorial park. They need someone to oversee the project, someone who understands its history. The job comes with a house on the property." Sarah's eyes widened. "You're offering me a job?" "You're a restoration specialist," the judge said. "Who better to restore a place of joy from a scene of tragedy? Besides, I think David would want his family there, turning something painful into something beautiful." Tommy tugged on Sarah's hand. "Say yes, Mom. Luna says it's what Daddy would want. We can heal the fairground like the dogs healed us." Sarah looked at her son, speaking freely and confidently. She looked at Luna and Storm, warriors who had become family. She thought of David, whose sacrifice had meaning because of these incredible dogs. "Yes," she said, "we'll do it." 6 months later, the Riverside Memorial Fairground held its grand reopening. The Carousel, fully restored, played cheerful music as children rode painted horses, including one special white horse with a golden saddle, now bearing a plaque. In memory of David Mitchell and Miguel Rivera, who fought for truth. Sarah watched from the operator's booth as Tommy helped younger children onto the carousel. He wore a special vest identifying him as a junior volunteer, Storm beside him in a matching service dog vest. The German shepherd, fully recovered and strong, helped calm nervous children with his steady presence. Luna lay in the shade nearby, her 3 puppies, now half-grown and in training, playing around her. Each puppy had been matched with a veteran's child, struggling with trauma, Tommy helping to make the connections with his unique gift. But they always returned to Luna, their training sessions becoming legendary for their effectiveness. "You did it," Rivera said, joining Sarah. He visited often, helping train the puppies and sharing stories of Miguel. "You brought this place back to life." "We all did," Sarah said. The dogs, Tommy, everyone who believed in the truth. She watched Tommy kneel beside a crying toddler who was afraid of the carousel. Storm immediately lay down, making himself less intimidating. Tommy whispered something to the child, then to Storm. The dog's tail wagged gently, and slowly the toddler reached out to pet him. Within minutes, the child was laughing, climbing onto a carousel horse with Tommy's help. "He's gifted," Rivera said. "The way he connects with animals and children, it's remarkable." "He says Luna and Storm taught him that everyone speaks," Sarah said. "We just have to learn how to listen." That evening, as the fairground closed and families headed home, Sarah found Tommy sitting with Luna and Storm by the carousel. The puppies were gathered around them, and Tommy was telling them a story, the story of their parents' bravery, of Miguel and David's sacrifice, of how love and loyalty conquered fear and corruption. "And that's why we're here," Tommy concluded, "to remember, to protect, and to help others the way you helped us." Luna nuzzled Tommy's cheek, her tail wagging. Storm sat at attention, proud and strong. The puppies yipped excitedly, not fully understanding, but feeling the importance of the moment. Sarah took out her phone and captured the scene, her son surrounded by the dogs who had saved them all, the restored carousel glowing in the setting sun behind them. She posted it online with a simple caption, "Heroes come in all forms." Sometimes they have 4 legs and pure hearts. Within hours, the photo had thousands of shares and comments. People from around the world shared their own stories of dogs who had saved them, protected them, loved them unconditionally. The fairground's social media filled with requests to visit, to meet the famous German shepherds who had exposed a conspiracy and saved lives. But the most meaningful comment came from an unexpected source. Judge Lawson had shared the photo with a note. 3 months ago, these dogs were dying in an abandoned carousel horse. A 5-year-old boy who hadn't spoken in months saved them. In return, they gave him his voice back and brought justice to those who had been silenced. Never underestimate the power of compassion. A year passed. The fairground thrived as a place of healing and joy. Tommy, now 6 and in 1st grade, spoke clearly and confidently, though he maintained his special connection with animals. He helped train service dogs with Rivera, using his gift to match dogs with people who needed them most. Luna's puppies had all graduated to their permanent homes. One with a veteran's daughter who struggled with anxiety, another with a boy who had lost his father in combat, and the third with a family whose child had autism, like Tommy once appeared to have. But they returned monthly for training sessions, Luna overseeing her children's work with quiet pride. Storm had officially become Tommy's service dog, certified and registered, though everyone knew he was much more than that. He was a guardian, a friend, a bridge between the human and animal worlds. One autumn evening, Sarah was closing up the carousel when Tommy came running, Storm at his heels. "Mom! Mom! Luna's trying to tell us something." They found Luna standing at the white carousel horse, pawing at it insistently. Sarah opened the hidden panel, expecting to find nothing. It had been thoroughly searched by investigators, but Luna nosed at a specific spot, whining. Tommy placed his hand where Luna indicated. "There's something else here. Something Daddy left just for us." Sarah felt along the panel until she found it, a tiny USB drive painted to match the wood, almost invisible. With shaking hands, she pulled it free. They went to Sarah's office and plugged it in. A video file opened, David's face filling the screen. But this wasn't investigation footage. This was personal. "Sarah, Tommy," David's voice said, warm and loving. "If you're watching this, then something's happened to me, and somehow you found this. I knew Luna would remember. I showed her this spot the day before. Well, before whatever happened." Sarah gripped Tommy's hand, tears streaming down her face. "I want you both to know that everything I did was to protect you and make the world safer for Tommy to grow up in. I'm sorry I kept secrets. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you the truth. But I need you to know something important." David paused, his eyes bright with emotion. "Tommy, you have a gift, son. I've seen it. The way animals trust you, the way you understand things others don't. That gift is going to help so many people. And Sarah, my love, you're stronger than you know. You'll raise our boy to be extraordinary. I've arranged something, David continued. If anything happens to me, 2 very special dogs will find their way to you. Luna and Storm. They were Miguel's partners, but I made him promise. If we both didn't make it, the dogs would protect you. They'll find you when you need them most. Tommy gasped. Daddy sent them to us. Trust the dogs, David said. Trust Tommy's gift. And know that I love you both more than words can say. I'm proud of you, even though I'm not there to see what you'll become. Take care of each other. And Sarah, that fairground meant something to me. If you ever get a chance, bring it back to life. Make it a place of joy again. The video ended. Sarah and Tommy clung to each other. Storm and Luna pressed against them, forming a circle of comfort and love. He knew, Sarah whispered. David knew the dogs would save us. He saved us, Tommy said, through them. Love doesn't die, Mom. It just changes shape. 2 years passed. The Riverside Memorial Fairground had become nationally recognized as a therapy center where traumatized children worked with service dogs. Tommy, now 8, was the youngest certified assistant trainer in the country, his gift with animals documented and studied by universities. Luna, though older and slower, still oversaw the training program. She had become a legend, the dog who brought down a conspiracy, saved lives, and continued to heal hearts. Storm remained Tommy's constant companion, but also worked with other children, showing them that strength could be gentle and protection could be love. One spring morning, a new family arrived at the fairground. A young soldier, recently returned from deployment, brought his daughter who hadn't spoken since witnessing a traumatic event. The girl, about Tommy's age, stood frozen at the entrance, fear radiating from her small frame. Tommy approached slowly, Storm at his side. He didn't speak at first, just sat on a nearby bench and waited. Storm lay down, patient and calm. Luna, watching from her usual spot, stood and walked over, settling beside the girl with a soft sigh. The girl's hand tentatively reached out, touching Luna's gray-streaked fur. Luna turned her head, looking into the child's eyes with that deep understanding that had saved so many. She says it's okay to be scared, Tommy said softly, but you're safe here. We all were scared once. The dogs taught us how to be brave. The girl looked at Tommy, then at the dogs, and for the first time in months, she spoke. What are their names? Luna and Storm, Tommy said, smiling. They're heroes, but mostly they're friends. Would you like to hear their story? As Tommy began telling the tale of 2 German shepherds found in an abandoned carousel horse, of secrets and bravery, of loss and redemption, Sarah watched from the carousel control booth. David's photo sat on the desk beside her, next to photos of Miguel, Judge Lawson, and all the children the dogs had helped. Rivera joined her, as he did most mornings now, helping with the training program. Tommy's got a new one responding, he said, nodding toward the girl. That's 15 this month. He has David's heart and Miguel's gift, Sarah said, and the dog's wisdom. Speaking of which, Rivera said, pulling out his phone, I got a call from the FBI this morning. They want to give Luna and Storm official commendations, make them the first dogs to receive civilian service medals for exposing treason. Sarah smiled. They deserve it. Though I think Luna would prefer extra treats and a warm bed. As if hearing her name, Luna looked up at the control booth, her tail wagging slowly. Even from a distance, Sarah could see the contentment in the dog's eyes. The mission that had started with violence and fear had transformed into something beautiful, a legacy of healing that touched hundreds of lives. That afternoon, as spring rain began to fall, Tommy and the new girl sat in the covered carousel, Storm and Luna beside them. The girl was talking now, her voice growing stronger with each word. Her father stood nearby, tears of relief streaming down his face. How do they do it? He asked Sarah. How do the dogs know exactly what each child needs? Sarah thought of David's video, of Miguel's sacrifice, of Tommy's gift. Love recognizes itself, she said. Pain recognizes healing. And sometimes angels come with 4 legs and wet noses, exactly when we need them most. Thunder rumbled overhead, reminding Sarah of the night 3 years ago, when Luna and Storm had first appeared. So much had changed. Tommy had found his voice. She had found her purpose. The dogs had found their forever mission. The carousel began to turn, its music mixing with the rain's rhythm. Children laughed, dogs barked happily, and in the white horse with the golden saddle, now a monument to courage, the hidden panel remained, holding no more secrets, only memories of the brave souls who had fought for truth. Tommy appeared at Sarah's side, Storm faithful as always beside him. "Mom, Luna says she's tired but happy. She says her work is almost done." Sarah knelt beside her son, understanding the weight of his words. Luna was old now, her body wearing down, even as her spirit remained strong. "She's trained so many dogs, helped so many children. Her legacy will live on." "She knows," Tommy said, "but she wants to stay until the new puppies are ready." "New puppies?" Tommy smiled. "Not Luna's. Storm met someone, a German shepherd at the police station. Rivera's been training her. Luna says Storm will be a good father, and his puppies will carry on the work." Sarah laughed, amazed at how life continued to circle back, creating new beginnings from endings. "Then, we'll make sure Luna sees them grow." That evening, as the fairground closed and families headed home, Sarah found a moment of quiet. She stood before the memorial plaque they had installed, honoring David, Miguel, and all the unnamed heroes who had fought against corruption. Luna approached slowly, her aged body moving with dignity despite the stiffness in her joints. She sat beside Sarah, leaning gently against her leg. "Thank you," Sarah whispered to the dog, "for saving us, for bringing Tommy back, for giving David's death meaning." Luna looked up at her with those wise amber eyes, and Sarah could swear she saw understanding, acceptance, and love. The dog who had hidden in a carousel horse, who had carried secrets that toppled criminals, who had given birth while being hunted, was at peace. Storm joined them, sitting on Sarah's other side, Tommy beside him. They stood together as the sun set, a family forged by tragedy but bonded by love, protected by two German shepherds who had proven that loyalty and courage could overcome any darkness. 5 years had passed since that stormy night when Jake the security guard had heard whimpering from an abandoned carousel. The fairground that had once been a crime scene was now a beacon of hope. Tommy, 13 now, had started a YouTube channel sharing the techniques he had learned from Luna and Storm, helping children worldwide connect with animals. Luna passed peacefully on a spring morning, surrounded by all her puppies who had returned for a final goodbye, Storm and Tommy beside her. The entire community mourned her loss, but celebrated her life. She was buried beneath the oak tree near the carousel, where children left flowers and drawings, and where Storm stood vigil every evening at sunset. Storm's puppies, trained by Tommy using everything Luna had taught him, continued the mission. Each one was placed with a child who needed them, carrying forward the legacy of healing and hope. The fairground established the Luna and Storm Foundation, providing free service dogs to military families affected by loss. Rivera ran the program, with Tommy as his assistant and Sarah overseeing the entire operation. On the 5th anniversary of finding the dogs, a documentary crew arrived to tell their story. Tommy, now confident and articulate, served as the main narrator, with Storm still by his side despite his advancing age. "People ask me if I really could hear what the dogs were thinking," Tommy said to the camera. "I think what I could hear was their love. Love speaks in ways words can't capture. Luna and Storm loved with their whole hearts. They loved Miguel, they loved my dad, and when they needed us most, they loved us enough to trust us with their biggest secret." The documentary showed the carousel horse where they were found, now the centerpiece of a memorial garden. It showed the hidden rooms David and Miguel had built, now part of a museum teaching about integrity and courage. It showed Storm, gray-muzzled but still proud, working with a new generation of service dogs. "My dad once said that angels come in different forms," Tommy continued. "I didn't understand then, but I do now. Luna and Storm were our angels. They appeared when we needed them most, saved us in ways we didn't know we needed saving, and taught us that the bond between humans and animals is one of the purest forms of love that exists." The documentary ended with footage of Tommy and Storm at Luna's grave, a new puppy, Storm's grandson, playing at their feet. Tommy was teaching the puppy the same humming melody he had used to calm Luna and Storm that first night, passing on the secret language of comfort and trust. "Every ending is a beginning," Tommy's voice narrated. "Luna's story ended, but her legacy lives in every dog trained here, Every child who finds their voice, every family reunited through healing. That's what she and Storm taught us. Love doesn't end. It transforms, it continues, it finds new ways to save us. As the film crew packed up, Sarah stood with Tommy and Storm at the carousel. It was sunset, the golden light making everything glow with warmth. The white horse with the golden saddle caught the light, seeming to shine with an inner fire. "Do you think Dad knew?" Tommy asked. "How important Luna and Storm would be to us?" Sarah pulled her son close. "I think he knew they would save us. Maybe not how, but he knew." Storm barked once, his tail wagging, and in the distance they could hear the sound of children laughing, playing with the new puppies in training. The fairground was alive with joy, just as David had hoped it would be. "Mom," Tommy said, "I want to be a veterinarian, one who specializes in service dogs. I want to understand the science behind what I feel, help more dogs like Luna and Storm find their people." "Your dad would be so proud," Sarah said, tears in her eyes. "I'm so proud." As they walked back toward the main building, Storm suddenly stopped, his ears perked up. He looked back at the carousel horse, tail wagging slowly. Tommy knelt beside him. "What is it, boy?" Storm walked to the horse, placing his paw on its base, then looked at Tommy with those intelligent eyes that reminded everyone so much of Luna. "He says thank you," Tommy translated, his voice soft, "for finding them, for saving them, for giving them a chance to complete their mission." Sarah felt the tears come freely now. After all these years, the dogs were still teaching them about gratitude, about love, about the circular nature of rescue. How sometimes, when you save someone, they end up saving you right back. The story of Luna and Storm spread worldwide after the documentary aired. Donations poured in for the foundation. Families from across the country brought their children to the fairground, hoping to find the same healing Tommy had found. And always at the center of it all stood the carousel with its white horse, no longer hiding secrets or sheltering desperate souls, but standing as a monument to the power of trust, the strength of love, and the incredible bond between a boy and two German shepherds who had appeared one stormy night when they were needed most. Tommy, now grown, still runs the program. Storm's great-grandchildren work alongside him, each one carrying a piece of Luna and Storm's spirit. The fairground thrives, filled with laughter and barking, and the sound of healing happening one child, one dog, one moment at a time. And sometimes, late at night, when Tommy walks the grounds with the newest generation of puppies, he stops at Luna's grave and tells them the story of two brave German shepherds hidden in a carousel horse, of the 5-year-old boy who could hear their hearts, of the soldier and the father who died for truth, and of how love, loyalty, and courage can overcome any darkness. The puppies listen with rapt attention, as if they understand every word, and perhaps they do. Perhaps Luna and Storm's greatest gift wasn't just exposing corruption or saving lives. It was proving that the connection between humans and dogs is something magical, something that transcends explanation, something that can heal the deepest wounds and right the greatest wrongs. In the white carousel horse, now cleaned and restored, children place letters to Luna and Storm, thanking them for their bravery. Tommy reads each one aloud at Storm's grave and Luna's resting place, knowing somehow that they hear every word. Because love like theirs doesn't die. It lives on in every wag of a tail, every child who finds their voice, every family reunited through the healing power of a dog's unconditional love. And in the fairground that was once abandoned, where two German shepherds were once found dying in a carousel horse, life continues to bloom, bright, beautiful, and eternal as the love that started it all. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to hear more incredible stories of hope and healing. Comment below and tell us where you're watching from, and share your own stories of the amazing dogs who have touched your lives. Remember, sometimes angels have 4 legs and wet noses, and they appear exactly when we need them most.